Listen, this is one of those moments where the quiet tension behind the scenes suddenly spills into the open, and when it does, it never looks pretty. Because when Sadie Frost's name entered the lawsuit conversation, and Dan Wootton openly discussed it live on TV, it wasn't just another media moment, it was a reminder that this whole press versus celebrity war is far from over. And right at the center of public attention again? Meghan Markle. Whether people like it or not, Meghan's name is now inseparable from media lawsuits, press accountability, and the constant accusation that this fight is as much about image control as it is about justice. Sadie Frost is not a random celebrity chasing headlines. She has a documented history of speaking out about press intrusion and the personal cost of media harassment. This isn't gossip culture, this is about real people who've publicly said the press crossed lines. And when Dan Wootton brings that conversation onto live television, it shifts things from legal paperwork into public judgment. That's where the pressure starts to build, especially for someone like Meghan, who critics argue has carefully curated her role as both victim and moral authority in these media battles. Here's where things get uncomfortable. Meghan Markle has consistently positioned herself as someone fighting a corrupt system, tabloids, palace silence, toxic narratives. But now, with more voices like Sadie Frost entering the broader conversation, that moral high ground looks more crowded. Suddenly, Meghan isn't the sole face of media suffering. She's one of many. And that matters, because it challenges the idea that this fight belongs to any one couple or brand. Critics are already asking, if so many people were harmed by the press, why does Meghan's story dominate the spotlight? Dan Wootton's involvement only amplifies that question. Love him or hate him, Wootton knows how to steer a narrative. When he speaks live, it's rarely accidental. By referencing lawsuit tensions and familiar names, he forces the audience to reconsider who's controlling the story and who's benefiting from it. For Meghan, that's a problem. Because her critics don't see a helpless victim anymore, they see someone deeply media savvy, someone who understands headlines, outrage cycles, and public sympathy better than most influencers. And let's be honest, Meghan's relationship with the media has always been complicated. She condemns it, yet relies on it. She rejects tabloids, yet headlines remain central to her relevance. So when another high-profile figure like Sadie Frost appears in the same legal atmosphere, it disrupts the narrative hierarchy. Meghan is no longer the singular symbol of press abuse. She becomes part of a longer, messier history, one that predates her royal marriage and will outlast it. This is where the alleged panic narrative comes from, not fear in a literal sense, but loss of narrative control. Because once the conversation broadens, Meghan can't frame herself as uniquely targeted. She becomes one voice among many, and that's dangerous for someone whose brand is built on personal storytelling. Public sympathy is finite. And when viewers start comparing experiences, they start questioning motives, timing, and consistency. Sadie Frost speaking up doesn't attack Meghan directly, but it doesn't support her exclusivity either. It quietly reminds the public that media misconduct affected people long before Meghan entered the royal family. That alone reframes the debate. Suddenly, Meghan's critics feel validated in saying this isn't just about justice, it's about attention, influence, and long-term positioning in the public sphere. Meanwhile, Dan Wootton's commentary acts like lighter fluid. By discussing these tensions openly, he ensures the story doesn't stay buried in legal language. It becomes entertainment, debate, and controversy all at once. And Meghan, once again, is caught in the crossfire of a media machine she claims to despise but cannot escape. Every new voice added to the lawsuit conversation increases the risk that her story starts sounding repetitive instead of revolutionary. And here's the brutal truth that influencers don't usually say out loud. Audiences are evolving. They're more skeptical. They're tired of perfectly packaged outrage. They want receipts, timelines, consistency. When multiple figures speak about press abuse, the public starts comparing notes. And when that happens, Meghan's critics believe her contradictions become harder to ignore, especially when her media presence remains constant despite claims of trauma. So no, this isn't about one TV segment or one name being mentioned. This is about momentum shifting. Sadie Frost's presence, Dan Wootton's commentary, and the ongoing legal noise all point to a bigger reality. Meghan Markle no longer controls the media justice narrative the way she once did. And whether supporters admit it or not, that loss of control is what truly rattles the Sussex brand, not the lawsuits themselves, but the fact that the spotlight is no longer hers alone.